In translation, such a liberated soul attains and realizes the absolute personality of Godhead, who is transcendental and is manifest as reflection even in the false ego, and is the support of the material cause, and enter in everything absolute without a second, and the eyes of the illusory energy. But a pure devotee can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything materially manifested. He is present there as reflection only, and a pure devotee can realize that in the darkness of material illusion, the only light is the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, and He is the support, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, that the background of the material manifestation is Lord Krishna, and it is as it is supported in the Brahma Samhita, that Krishna is the cause of all causes. And it is supported by the Brahma Samhita that the Supreme Lord, by his partial or plenary expansion, is not only within the universe, each and every universe, but he is present in every atom, although he is one without a second. Word used in this verse, of them without a second, that means although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is represented in everything, including the atoms, he is of them. It is not that he is divided. How he is present in everything is explained in the next verse. Textual translation: as the reflection of the sun on water is counter observed on the wall of a room, similarly, the presence of the Supreme Lord can be realized exactly like the sun first realized as reflection on the water, and again counter reflection on the wall of the room, although the sun is situated on the sky. But the example given here is very perfect. The example is that the sun is situated far, far away from the surface of the earth in the sky, but his reflection is seen on the pot of water in the corner of a room, and the same reflection is reflected on the wall of the room. So the example is that the room is dark and the sun is far away reflection on the water has illuminated the darkness of the room. So, as a pure devotee can realize the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead similarly in everything by reflection of his energy, as it is confirmed in the Vishnu Purana that fire is understood, the presence of fire is understood by heat and light. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although one without second, by diffusion of his different energy, he is perceived everywhere. This is confirmed in the Ishopanishad that the presence of the Lord is perceived by liberated soul everywhere. Exactly like the sunshine and reflection of the sun can be perceived everywhere, although the sun is situated far, far away from the surface of the globe. Text 13, translation. The self-realized soul is thus reflected in the threefold ego and the senses and mind by the reflection of its own self, and through the body, mind and senses. But the conditioned soul thinks that I am this body, but a liberated soul thinks that I am not this body, I am a spirit soul. So this I am is called ego, identifications of oneself. Now, when one thinks I am this body or everything in relationship with the body and mind, that is called false ego. And when one is self-realized and thinks that he is eternal servant of the Supreme God, that identification of oneself is there. But one is in the darkness of threefold qualities of material nature, namely the quality of goodness, quality of passion and ignorance, and the other identification is in the pure state of goodness called Shuddha Satta, Suddhasattva, which is called also Vasudeva, Vasudeva. So that when we have to give up our ego, it means that we have to give up our false ego. But a real ego is always present, but when they are reflected through the material contamination of the body and mind in false identification, that is called conditional stage. But when they are reflected in pure stage, that is called liberated stage. In the conditional stage, the identification of oneself, it may material possession is purified when that identification is in relationship with the Supreme Lord. In the cognizant state, everything accepted as objects of sense gratification. And in the liberated state, everything accepted as things for the service of the Supreme Lord. So, Krishna consciousness or devotional service is the right liberated stage of a living entity, and otherwise either accepting the material platform or negativating the material things to hardness or impersonalism. They are all imperfect condition of the pure soul. The understanding of pure soul is called Sattva-drik. S-A-T-Y-A-D-R-I-K. Sattva-drik. Sattva-drik means one who can see in everything the reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A concrete example can be given in this connection. That a conditioned soul is seeing one flower, a very nice, beautiful rose flower, and is thinking that this nice aromatic flower should be used for smelling, for his own sense gratification. This is one kind of seeing the flower. And a liberated soul sees the same power that in the reflection of the Supreme Lord. That this beautiful flower is made possible by the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, this flower is belonging to the Supreme Lord, and it should be utilized for the service of the Supreme Lord. There is two kinds of vision. The conditioned soul sees the flower for his own enjoyment, and the liberated soul sees the flower in connection with the service of the Lord. In the same way, one can see the reflection of the Supreme Lord either in his own senses, mind and body and everything, and thus by correct vision of all these paraphernalia, one can engage everything in the service of the Lord. It is stated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that one who has engaged is everything, is his vital energy, his wealth, his intelligence, and his word, and the service of the Lord, or desires to engage all these in the service of the Lord. Such a person, even though situated in any position of life in the material world, he is to be considered as a liberated soul or Sattva-drik. A Sattva-drik means one who has understood things as they are. Text 14. Such a devotee is supposed to be awakened and freed from the false the objects of material enjoyment, material senses, material mind, and intelligence in the material existence. Purport. The explanation of Jiva Goswami in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, how a person can be liberated even in this body, is more clearly explained in this verse, that a living entity who has become Sattadrik, or actually self-realized, one who has realized his position in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he may remain merged apparently in the five elements of matter and five objects of material senses, and the 10 senses and the mind and intelligence, and still he is to be considered that he is awakened and is freed from the reaction of false ego. Here the word Lina, L-E-E-N-A, is very significant. Now the Mahabharata philosophy, they recommend to be merged in the impersonal effulgence of Brahman. That is the ultimate goal of destination. Now that merging is also mentioned here, but in spite of being merged, one can keep his individuality. The example is given by Jiva Goswami, just like a green bird entering into a tree which is also green, appears to be merged in green, in the color of greenness, but actually the bird does not quit its individuality. Similarly, a living entity, either he is merged in the material nature or he is merged in the spiritual nature. He does not give up his individuality. So, real individuality is to understand oneself that he is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Lord. This is the information we get from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya when he instructed Sanatana Goswami. He said clearly on the inquiry of Sanatana Goswami that a living entity is eternally servitor of Krishna. And Krishna also confirms in the Bhagavad Gita that a living entity is eternally part and parcel of him. The same thing. To become part and parcel of the whole means the part and parcel is meant for serving the whole. So this is individuality. So even in this material existence, when the living entity is supposed to be merged in matter, merged in matter means his body made of five elements and his subtle body made of mind, intelligence and false ego and contaminated consciousness, and his material senses, five active senses and five knowledge acquiring senses. So although the living entity is merged in these 24 elements of matter, if he can keep his individuality as the so eternal servitor of the Lord. So either he is in the spiritual nature or in the material nature, he is to be considered as liberated soul. That is the explanation of authorities. So the same thing is confirmed in this verse number 14. Text 15, translation. Although the existence of the living entity can be vividly felt as the seer, still the living entity falsely takes himself as lost, though not lost, because of the disappearance of the ego, leaving the state of deep sleep, just as a man who has lost his fortune feels distress and takes himself as lost. But similarly, a living entity, in ignorance only, he thinks that he is lost. But actually, if by acme of knowledge he comes to the real position of his eternal existence, he is not lost. The example mentioned herein, Nastavitta Ivatura, N-A-S-T-A-V-I-T-A, Ivar, I-V-A-T-U-R-A-H, Nastavitta Ivatura, means just like a person who has lost a great sum of money thinks himself that he is gone or he is lost. Actually, he is not lost. His money is lost, and due to his absorption or identification with the money, with himself, he thinks that he is lost. Similarly, by our false ego, when we identify with the matter as our field of activities, then we think that we are lost, although we are not lost. So, as soon as the awakening of knowledge, of pure understanding, that a living entity is eternally servitor of the Lord, this awakening of individuality makes him again awaken or revive to his own real position. A living entity is never lost. Just like in deep sleep, when one forgets his identity, he absorbed in dream, he thinks himself that he is a different person or he is lost. But actually his identity is not lost. This concept of being lost is due to false ego. And this concept of being lost continues till one is not awakened to the sense of his eternal existence as eternal servitor of the Lord. The Mahabharata philosophers' concept of being one with the Supreme Lord is another symptom of being lost in false ego. One may falsely claim that he is Supreme Lord, but actually he is not. So this is the last snare of Maya's influence upon the living entity, that he thinks equal with the Supreme Lord or Supreme Lord himself. So this is also due to false ego. Text 16 translation. Thus by mature understanding one can realize his individuality of self. Situation of things accepted under false ego becomes manifest to him. Purport. The Mahabharata philosopher's proposition that the ultimate end, the individual is lost and there is no distinction between the knower and the knowable and knowledge. Everything becomes one. But actually, by minute analysis, this is not correct. Individuality is never lost, because even one thinks that the three different situations, namely the knower and the knowable and knowledge, is amalgamated into one or merged into one. This particular conception that the three things are merged into one is also another kind of knowledge, and the perceiver of the knowledge still exists. Otherwise, how one can say that the knower, knowledge and knowable has become one? The individual soul who is perceiving as such, he remains still an individual. So, either in material existence or spiritual existence, the individuality continues, but the quality of identity changes. The material identity, the false ego acts, and because the false ego acts on account of the false ego or false identification, things are taken in a different way. That is the basic principle of conditional life. Similarly, when the false ego is purified, the things will be taken in right perspective, and that is the state of liberation. As it is stated in the Upanishad, that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. Ishavasa idam sadvam. Everything is existing on the energy of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that everything is existing on his energy. And because everything is produced of his energy, and everything is existing on his energy, and the energy is not different from him, but still the Lord declares that I am not there. So, clear understanding of one's constitutional position, everything becomes manifest only by false egoistic acceptance of things makes one conditional, and right acceptance of things as they are, that makes one liberated. The same example as it is given in the previous verse, that due to absorption of one's identity with his money, when the money is lost, he thinks that he is also lost, actually he does not identify. He is not identified with the money, neither the money belongs to him. So when this actual concept of life is revealed, that the money does not belong to any individual person or a living entity, neither it is produced by him, the money is the property of the Supreme Lord, then there is no question of being lost. So long there is false ego that I am the enjoyer or I am the Lord, concept of life continues. One is conditioned, and as soon as this false ego is over, he is liberated. As it is confirmed in the Bhagavatam, that to be situated in one's real constitutional position is called mukti or liberation.